Hi, everybody. We have an incredible show with Dr. Pascal today. He's really going to dive into what allergies are about, how you can really get your allergies, your sensitivities treated in a non-invasive way. He's going to touch base briefly on the complexities of different cases that he's seen. He's a world-class doctor, brilliant, funny. We have a lot of fun on this one. And at the very end, he talks a little bit about Sound of Soul, so you don't want to miss it. Dr. Pascal is an incredible educator and pioneer in the biological world, and we're super excited for you to join us on today's episode of The Beats. Welcome to The Beats with Kelly Kennedy, and from our hearts to yours. Today, I have a very special guest. This is not only a great colleague, but one of my very good friends, best friends, honestly. And Dr. Pascal has also, I'm going to go through his curriculum vitae here in a second, but to be honest with you, he's very special to both myself and Ian because he is the gentleman that introduced us to this whole world of European biological medicine. And so I'm very honored to share the world with Dr. Pascal. And Dr. Pascal is world renowned. He is a doctor of chiropractics. He's been studying and working for 33 years, but in the last 20, he's really specialized more in functional and biological medicine. And he not only deals with autoimmune diseases and with a lot of allergies and sensitivities, but he has an incredible repertoire and incredible results with the Olympic teams. So he works directly with the track and field of our Olympic Games. He's been to 4 Olympic Games and he has 12 world championships under his care. He's an author, he's a teacher, he's an inventor, he's comical. You're going to enjoy him today. He's very brilliant and he really is internationally recognized. So I find it very appropriate that Dr. Pascal has the world behind him because he's very worldly. Although I know he's been trapped in North Carolina and California for the last few months, which is eating him up inside in a lot of ways. But Dr. Pascal today is going to share with you about what allergies are. And he has his own technique called PHASE, which stands for Pascal's holistic allergy and sensitivity elimination. Just elimination. That's it. Just PHASE. So that was a long curriculum vitae, but there's a lot to say about Dr. Pascal. He's a BFD, a biological functional doctor, or for those of you who know me well, it's a big deal. And he is a big deal. So thank you, Dr. Pascal, for joining me today.
Kelly, it is always a joy to be with you. You know, I love you so much. And it's been an amazing road adventure that we've been on these last 15 years or so.
Yep.
And I think
exactly 15 years ago, actually, in November was when we met, I think in October. And then in November, we went to our first class and we opened 16 years ago. So I know that that's the proper math. So yes, all my roads lead back to you and Dr. Howie Cohen for some reason in my life. And you two are very good friends, which is also a coincidence.
Yeah.
So Dr. Pascal, you know, we've spent a lot of time on our podcast explaining to people about the concept of regulation, about the concept of of biological medicine and bioregulatory function. And so hopefully they understand that. And if not, they're going to go back and listen to another one. But let's dive into, let's talk about what the definition of an allergy is versus a sensitivity and how you approach the body from that perspective.
All right, sure. Well, first of all, I think you're splitting hairs when you say, you know, I'm allergic to something versus I'm sensitive to something, because all of that is some glitch in the immune system. And whether you are allergic to something or only sensitive to it is impacting your immune system and it needs to be addressed. So in my practice, I don't make that differentiation. But my definition of an allergy or a sensitivity is an inappropriate immunologic reaction.
Okay.
So for example, I'm not allergic to cats. So I can go in a room, breathe in some cat hair, and my immune system's going to go, hey, dude. That's how my immune system talks because I'm from California.
It's very Californian, just like Dr. Pascal.
Just because I live in North Carolina the last 25 years doesn't mean I gave up my LA roots.
That's good.
So anyway, my immune system goes, dude, what's this cat hair doing here, right? And maybe sneeze once or twice, send, 100 white blood cells, gobble it all up, and that's the end of it. That would be an appropriate immunologic response to that attack of the cat hair or cat dander that I ingested. Someone that is allergic to cats, they breathe in that same cat hair and their immune system goes, oh my God, we're gonna die, flood the sinuses, sneeze a million times, send 100,000 white blood cells, and it's basically having a psychotic event. That would be an inappropriate immunologic reaction. So when people come to me and they have sensitivities or allergies, what we want to do is find out what they are sensitive to and address those things, because all of those things are stressors on the immune system. In Western medicine, the route is someone has allergies, they go to their allergist and the guy says, what's your problem? He said, when I'm around cats, I sneeze a million times. He said, okay, stay away from cats. He said, I'd like to, but I have 17. So like a lot of people that are allergic to cats.
Totally true. Yeah. And the doctor could also be a woman, just to be fair.
Did I?
No, and you're like, everybody assumes that. I like to make that claim. You know me, David. I like to make sure we got equal playing field. Oh, you guys should see his face right now. Like, oh my God, I'm going to kill her. I'm going to kill her.
Yes. So,
anyway.
So the first thing that a medical doctor will do is say avoid. If avoidance isn't practical or doesn't work for whatever, maybe they're allergic to pollen, they live in North Carolina, the pollen center of the universe, then they prescribe medication. And usually medication doesn't change your immune system, it only addresses the symptoms.
Right.
And for some people, medication works, for others it doesn't. So for those people where it doesn't work, then the next step are allergy shots. And according to the AMA, the typical allergy shot program is 5 to 7 years long.
Wow.
Yeah, a person will start 3 times a week. They'll go in and they'll get a little injection of cat, and basically to desensitize the immune system's reaction to the dander, epithelial, or whatever it is. And so they'll do this 3 times a week for up to, for 1 to 2 years, and then it'll go like twice a week, and then once a week, and then twice a month, and once a month, and it dwindles down over the 7-year period. And at the end of that time, according to the AMA, the success rate of allergy shots is 30%.
I was just dying to know that. I knew you were going to have the answer to that. 30%. So 7 years, I'm committing 3 times a week for at least 2 years, then twice a week for a couple of years, then once a week for a couple of years. And at the end of it, I'm 30% less, maybe, reactive to the things I was. Or
right.
30% of us got cured.
Right. So let's look at that. Let's say that out of 100 people, 30 no longer have their allergies. But there's this little thing called placebo.
Right.
Placebo accounts for 22%. So if I said, drink this special allergy water from France 3 times a day at $50 a bottle, or 3 times a week for 7 years.
Right.
22 of those 100 people
are going to
will no longer have a problem with cats. So what allergists are doing is they're taking 100 people, they're taking at least half a decade of their lives, they're taking their time, they're taking their money, and they know of those 100 people that they legitimately are only contributing to the benefit of 8 people.
And this allergy shot is just under the skin, right? So it's only addressing one organ system. Is it not true?
Well, I mean, it's going to get into the blood, right? Okay. And so that's where our major, yes, the skin is our biggest organ of defense, but we're really looking at the purpose of the allergy shots from the medical viewpoint is that desensitization of that immunologic, that allergy response, which is, we call them allergies, but they're really glitches in the immune system.
Right.
So with the technique that I've developed, and there's, 20, 30 different various allergy elimination techniques out there. And what I've done is I focused on allergies for the last 20 years. I went to a bunch of seminars, read a million books, had tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of individual patient treatments, followed all of that up and mushed together and developed my own unique technique, which we call phase. So the phase program, the typical allergy patient, someone that's allergic to cats or shellfish, pollen, perfume, whatever, they take 3 months and we have a 90% success rate.
90% success rate. Okay, 3 months and 90% success. Like, I know this is real because I've obviously experienced this technique. This is one of the things that we communioned about all those years ago. And I've had amazing success personally with this technique. But just let's put that, what does that 90% mean? 90% no longer sensitive to anything.
Right. So you can look at it a couple different ways. It means that, symptom-wise, the person's symptoms average 90% improvement. So
Okay.
if someone, so some people have 0 symptoms, some people have 80% improvement.
Right.
And some people have only 70% improvement. But for every one person that has 70% improvement, we've got to have 3, I think off the top of my head, that have 100% to average 90.
Right. Gotcha.
So whatever the math is on that too. Yeah. So,
Sure.
right. So, and I know this because.
And 3 months. I just want to reiterate that 3 months instead of 7 years. Now, how frequent do they have to be in the center at 3 months? Times a week?
Yeah. Most people are coming 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay. So a 3-month commitment instead of a 7-year commitment.
Yeah. They're averaging 30 treatments. So
Okay.
my typical allergy patient or sensitivity patient, cat, shellfish, pollen, perfume, whatever, that they average 30 treatments. My autoimmune patients, they're in a deeper immunologic hole, they average 45 treatments. So when a patient comes to me and says, how long is it going to take? I say, well, if you have 30 sensitivities and you're coming 3 times a week, it's going to take 10 weeks. If you're coming once a week, it's going to take 30 weeks. So, but that basically averages out to 3 months.
And when you say that they're going to be treated, you're using how does that treatment look like? Is that an invasive treatment? Is that using needles? I mean, I obviously know the answer, but for our audience, if you could share, and I can grab vials real quick if they're not easy accessible for you.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need a vial, but basically what we do is first I test a person and I find out what they're sensitive to. And then that lets me know how many total treatments they're going to need up front.
And that's a muscle test, or is that Zyto, or how are you?
I use muscle testing to assess sensitivity.
Okay, so that's the applied kinesiology muscle response test, and we've talked on a couple podcasts about that. So if you're not familiar with that, go back and check. Actually, Dr. Howard Cohen's the one that we got to talk about muscle response testing.
Yes, so that's my test. I don't use a blood test or a skin prick test because those have up to 60% error rate. So that's another thing. The allergists know that they're only going to help 30%, and they know, and they're basing it off of a test that can have up to 60% error rate. And yet, even though they know it can be up to 30% false positives, 30% false negatives, every patient that ever comes to me and says, "Oh, I have my allergy test from my allergist," and then I go, "So what does he say about that?" They all say, "These are the things I'm sensitive to, and these are the things I need to either avoid or treat," even though 60% of it could be totally wrong. I don't get it.
And, just for those that are listening, I want to say that this is why I've gravitated towards doctors like Dr. Pascal and like so many of the other docs, all of them actually that have been on the podcast. They're not just doctors, they're scientists. And that's very different. Dr. Pascal is very precise if you can't tell from looking at the map. He even, like when he's just putting out like a an example. He's got to make sure the math is right, because these are the type of people that are looking at the I's and dotting the I's and crossing the T's and going, this is scientifically what I'm seeing, not only clinically, but this is showing me evidence, because I've had enough of a large enough of a sample to verify that I'm getting the results. And this is the qualifier. And we are all in a place of kind of dumbfounded by Western medicine's approach, which doesn't seem scientific at all to us. It doesn't seem like it's based in science, because I think personally they're unwilling to question it. And I think that's one of the great things that you, Dr. Pascal, have done for myself and so many of us others that you put on this train, is you made us question why? You know, that's the big question biological medicine always asks: why, and how do you get there, and what's the cause? And because you've always been driven by that, you're willing to find whatever the answer is and not attached to the outcome. If it's your technique, somebody else's technique, which is why you always went to all these different classes to go, well, that allergy technique was okay, but it wasn't the greatest. Let me find something else that can get a better, faster, quicker result. That in the 15 years I've known you, that's what you're all about. He's an athlete too. He was in the track and field. He was, weren't you in the Olympics or on the Olympic trial team?
I raced on the world circuit. I got hurt before the Olympic trials. 1980, we had our boycott. 84 was really my best year, and got hurt, unfortunately, just before the trial. So I had a shot at making the US team, but I mean, I did race for a few years and did fairly well, top 20 in my event at one point. So,
and that competitive nature, that competitive edge is now serving all your clients, whether they're athletes or immune compromised, because it keeps you on that cutting edge of how can I do this better and faster.
Yeah, my personality didn't change.
No, it didn't.
Just because I couldn't, I wanted to be the best on the planet, as an athlete. And when I couldn't do that, I didn't go, oh, okay, I can't wait to be a mediocre chiropractor. That'll be awesome. No. So, but, to that end, like with the allergies, what I would do is a patient would come in, they'd be treated, they'd come back. I would test them to see if they pass the treatment. And I'd keep statistics on that. Did they pass? How many times did it have to be repeated? What was the total number? And that's how I got my numbers. And then every 2 years, I'll have the staff pull 100 patients' files off the shelves of people that had finished the program, go back, add up all the numbers. Hey, because it used to be years ago, it used to only be 20 allergies. 20 years ago, it was only 20 allergies. Now it's 30 2 decades later. Why is it 30 now?
Right.
Our planet is so much worse. Electromagnetic fields, more pollution, all the radiation didn't magically disappear.
Right.
We're a closed system. So our stressors are higher. So we have more stressors, we're more compromised. And that brings me back to the phase technique. Is in Western medicine, the allergists, the docs are looking at, what's creating a change in the blood, what's creating an antibody reaction. And then based on that, even though they know there's false positives and negatives, but even if it was 100% correct, based on that, they're saying, you're sensitive to this, we're going to treat this. You're not sensitive to that, we're not going to treat that. But that's not how the immune system works. It's never worked that way. You've never been, oh, I'm totally healthy and then I wake up sick. Never happened for one person in the entire history of mankind or womankind. Either.
So how does the immune system work with allergies then?
So the immune system is just like my desk that this camera is sitting on. You can't see it now, but I got this big giant, hey, I'm a fancy doctor desk. And it can hold a lot of weight. So we could take a 50-pound bag of sand, put it on the desk, it's gonna be fine. I can put another and another and another and another, still no problem. But clearly, if I keep repeating this process, eventually I'll put one bag of sand too many, let's say that 30th one too many, and now the desk collapses. So if that 30th bag of sand was purple, Kelly, you'd never say to me, hey, Dr. Pascal, your desk wasn't designed to hold purple bags of sand, would you?
No.
Well, you would if you were an allergist.
Thank God I'm not an allergist.
Right? It's, hey, I mean, we could make a strong case. Hey, your desk didn't have any problem at all until that purple bag of sand got put on there. So clearly it's the purple bag of sand. You're totally fine until you walked in that room and inhaled that cat hair, and then you sneezed a million times. So it's clearly just the cat. That's not how it works. We have this amazing immune system. It has all these different layers and parts to it that are all fighting all the time. So we get a little problem, the body handles it. We get another problem, the body handles it. We get another problem, the body handles it. We get another problem, it can't handle it, but it compensates. We get another problem, another stressor, it compensates, compensate, crash. No one in the history of mankind woke up, you call me up and say, hey, Dave, let's get together for lunch. And I say, oh, I can't, I'm sick. And then you go, you're sick, what happened? I say, I ran myself down. What does that mean? I started my car, put it in reverse, jumped out of my car, ran behind it, laid down, and ran myself down? That doesn't happen. That's not how you get sick.
It was funny.
You don't get enough sleep. You have high mental, emotional stress. You ate or drank some things you shouldn't have. Then that person walks by you and sneezes like a million times before, but this time, since you're compromised, you got those 29 bags of sand, now you crash and then you get sick. Healthy people don't get sick. Sick people get everything. And so the same thing is true with sensitivities and allergies. So I identify what those things are, those 30 things, 20 things, 41 things, whatever many numbers it is specific to you.
Through a muscle response testing, non-invasively, that they're identifying the things that their body is not harmonizing with, because
that the body interprets as a stressor.
Yep. Okay.
A physical, chemical, emotional stressor. And it's the cumulative burden. Never heard that before. I invented that, by the way. No.
That's a little private joke.
It's that cumulative burden that causes us to break down. So what I want to do is lessen the immunologic burden on the body by showing the immune system each thing one at a time. And the way that I access or influence the immune system is through the acupuncture immune points. Now, we don't use a needle. That's too strong of a stimulus. We found that's way too strong of a stimulus. So I use a little point stimulator, like a little vibrator thing, and a light LED infrared. Sometimes I use a straight up cold laser, but it's all about putting energy into these points. There's about 30 of them, and we have a set order that you have to stimulate them in. But once we do that, then we have the patient avoid, or the client avoid, whatever they were treated for a day. And then that doesn't mean they can go be around the cat, because it's the totality of all of them together. So we have to treat all of these different things one at a time, right? Metaphorically taking one bag of sand off the table at a time until they're all off, and then they can, be around the cat, have a cat, eat a cat, whatever.
Eat a cat. So don't know how we got there, but so what you're saying is, just like it's a cumulative burden, you can't de-stress it in one fell swoop. And going back to your analogy, like if the pollen was the issue, everybody on the planet would have an issue with pollen. Not everybody in North Carolina and South Carolina, where pollen is the strongest, has issues. It's a few people that have issues that are, their cumulative burden is just that. And when they come in to see a practitioner that does the phase technique, then they're able to eliminate that burden slowly, cumulatively, in a 3-month time period. So in 3 months' time, what they used to be sensitive to, and cats is a good one. I was so sensitive to cats when I met Ian before allergy, before I was re-educated from an allergy perspective in my body. I mean, if somebody had cat hair on their clothes, I was throat full you know, eyes full of water running, everything else. I have cat sit for my friend for 3 days at a time, 2 cats, and had to feed him medicine. So I had to touch him, pet him, cat hair all over me. I didn't so much as wheeze as after 3 days. Now it was 20 years later. I don't want to own a cat, but it's nice to not feel threatened walking into my friend's house as a cat and be able to stay at her shore house or wherever because there's cats. Whereas before, I couldn't have probably even been friends with her, in all honesty. That's how limiting it was for me with cats. But it was the cumulative, right? It was all the other crap that was building up in my body. Cats was just the pushing over point, because
Right.
all the years prior I had hay allergies and dust allergies, and I had food allergies, and I had all this other stuff. I didn't know I had cat allergies till I was about 16, when a friend of mine who had cats, and I started to go to their house. I was like, I can't handle your house. I'm getting asthmatic attacks. But it's totally changed, and we addressed those allergies 20 years ago. It's held the whole time. Now I've changed my lifestyle. I've cleaned up my foci. I've done all the things that we know to do. But this is an incredible technique because there are so many listeners that suffer with allergies or suffer with sensitivities. And so many of them have chalked up for their lives. Oh, I just have to avoid that for the rest of their lives. And what you're saying is that that's not true.
That's correct. That's what I'm saying. And, you know, people do come and they say, well, how long is this going to last for? And what I like to do is have my patients come back once a year for follow-up. So we retest them. And typically what I find is after 1 year, one of those treatments has failed and needs to be repeated. So if those people that come back once a year, we find they average needing 1 treatment. But if someone skips a year or doesn't come back at year 1, they come back at year 2, they don't need 2, they probably need 3 or 4. If they skipped 3 years, they don't need 3, they need like 9. It tends to go logarithmically. Not really 9, but you know, in that 5, 6.
There he goes with this math preciseness again. But it's essentially exponential is what you're saying, as they get farther away from being
right, because our immune system doesn't improve over time unless you're being proactive.
Right.
It tends to degrade. So
and that's also because of the environment we live in. I mean, 20 years ago, we are not up against nearly what we are. And probably 20 years from now, we're not going to be up against, like, we think we're in a big toxic bowl of soup now. Wait 20 years. Hopefully it's gotten better as we wake up, but potentially it could be even worse. And so that's more of a challenge.
We're going to be on G10 by then.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of 5G. Yeah. Right. 10G.
Yes.
Yes, we're both cringing for those of you who can't see us on video and only hear us on audio. We're both cringing. So this is an exciting technique. And so from a perspective of autoimmune disease, just for a moment, for those that are dealing with a little deeper case.
Right.
So for that type of client, they're looking more than 3 months, I presume?
Yeah, well, if you have an autoimmune disease, you've got a lot more going on. So those things need to be addressed. It takes a lot. The typical allergy patient probably got there from leaky gut, and that's a whole nother conversation, right?
Yeah.
But the typical autoimmune person probably got there from heavy metals, from tick bite, from some big giant elephant that's come and sat on their immune system, and that has to be addressed as well. So you've got to, you know, chelate out the heavy metals. You've got to, you know, neutralize the virus or bacteria in their body. You know, you've got to get rid of all those petrochemicals that are in their cells or whatever their issue is. That has to be addressed, and they need the 45 phase treatments.
Right. And because that's like the way I look at it from the way you explained it is the phase treatments are a way to, if we are a computer, it's kind of reorganizing our computer and going back to the original operating system so it functions better, because it's gotten confused from all the software that we've put on it throughout the years. So we get rid of all the old software, go back to the original operating system and make it fine-tuned into what it's seeing now.
Right. We're trying to say, hey, look, it's just eggs. Get over it.
Right. Because now your eggs are from an organic local farm that's fed, you know, actual feed, not corn and all those other things that we know about.
But even if they are eating those bad eggs, like if they ate a bad
commercial egg.
commercial egg, there we go, and they broke out into hives. If we took them through phase, they could eat those eggs and they wouldn't crack up.
Right. Ha, ha. Oh, he's funny and he's very punny as well. That's why we have a lot of late night laughs and conversations right there. Well, Dr. Pascal, this has been very enlightening. Is there anything else you want to say about the phase technique or autoimmune or allergies?
I'll say that we see people in our clinic from all over the world. They've come from Asia and South America and Africa and Europe and all over North America as well. And, you know, we always encourage people to seek help locally. But if they've done that and they still have a problem and they need it handled, to look us up. I'm a very easy Google search away. And we, you know, be glad to help anyone that needs our help.
And we'll be giving that information to everybody in the show notes. But for those of you who are taking notes, you can reach out to Dr. Pascal at drpascalhelps@gmail, which is DRPASCAL helps@gmail.com. And he has a couple different websites, but we'll use drpascal.com. And he has an Instagram at Dr. Pascal. He's very entertaining on all of his social media, by the way. When he does travel or doesn't travel, it gives you a lot of insight into his personal travel. And at Facebook at Dr. Pascal Chiropractor. And, you know, I just want to say we have Sound of Soul behind us. And I would also like to put a shout out there for Dr. Pascal being one of the pioneers with us in bringing Sound of Soul into the United States. And, Dr. Pascal and I love that he now brings up how did you say it earlier? Like the mental, emotional components to health. And you address that with the Sound of Soul, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And how does that go for your client base? I'm just curious. I mean, I know on the spot a little bit about Sound of Soul, but this Sound of Soul is the soul, ha, 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 you know, behind my podcast, because I just really want to get the message out there about how important that is.
So I believe a person needs to address those things that are compromising their body. And your body can be compromised physically, you know, it can be compromised emotionally. So if you just address the physical problem, let's say someone has, like from a chiropractic viewpoint, they have nerve interference and they have a bunch of heavy metals and allergies. So you've got to, you know, adjust them, clear out their nervous system. You need to detox them, chelate out those heavy metals. You need to normalize their immune system with phase. And if another component for them is that mental emotional part, that must be addressed as well. And so what I found, one of the very best, most amazing, effective ways to do that is with Sound of Soul. And I love delivering SOSs to people and seeing, you know, being in that room and experiencing that change with them and seeing how they change afterward. And of course, emotion can affect the physical can affect the emotion, that everything is intertwined. So Sound of Soul is a vital component to our overall treatment program for all the patients that come in to see us.
And I think there's no questions left as to why you're the world-class doctor that you are, Dr. Pascal, because so many people today listening have heard you talk about in a simple way too, of very complex cases and how you address them very systematically and how you really dived in. And we appreciate how deep you dived into allergies and sensitivities and autoimmune to get people to realize that that's a huge component that's easy to address, simple, non-invasive way to do it. And it's a huge piece of the puzzle, yet all the pieces of the puzzle are important. And it's important to find great practitioners out there that are aligned with you and looking at your best interest and how your body really works. And truly from my heart to everybody else's, I'm so happy to have shared Dr. Pascal. And Dr. Pascal, thank you again from Ein and I for always being a guiding light in this world for us and always being a heartfelt friend as you are and bringing this medicine into my world, so that honestly, I feel like I'm living my mission of taking it out to the world to get them to understand how their body really works, and the fact that emotional health is a huge piece of it. And I know that was not the conversation we had 15 years ago. So it's been a beautiful journey for the two of us to be on the same, continue to be on the same page.
Yes. And again, Kelly, thank you for having me. I love what you're doing and spreading the word. And, you know, the more that you bring this world to the world, the more lives you're impacting. So bless you and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Dr. Pascal. And we'll see you next time on the beats, y'all.